Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, Transformers issue number 9, from Skybound, from the Energon universe, from Image Comics. Written by Daniel Warren Johnson with amazing artwork from Jorge Corona. Transformers keeps making my pick of the week because it keeps generating this level of excitement and enthusiasm for comics like I had when I was a kid. When I was young reading comic books back in the 80s, back in the early 90s, I was so freaking excited. I could not wait for every single issue of the next series that I was following, and Transformers is bringing that energy back into my life, and I really needed it. It's really refreshed me. It's really refreshed this industry. It's really refreshed my shop. It's absolutely stunning. And the real reason why it's the pick of the week is because, first of all, it does not slow up. Like a lot of books, when they start, by the time they get to issue number 9, you kind of want to revisit it. You kind of get clunky. You kind of get like murky in what's going on. It kind of slows up the pace. It kind of dwindles down a little bit. No, Transformers has never let the foot off of the gas. It's just hit the nitrous oxide. It's all about family and Vin Diesel now. We're just flying across. Amazing artwork from Jorge Corona with a very dynamic style that just leaps off of the page. The coloring by Mike Spicer is top notch. The characterizations and the moments that are crafted by the writer Daniel Warren Johnson are absolutely astounding. We got some more first appearances in the Energon universe here. Shockwave shows up. He's ready to join up with Soundwave and tear some ass through the Autobots. It is big, it is boisterous, and if you thought that the shocking big moments were done in this series, no, you are severely wrong, because it just keeps ramping up the tension, the energy, the excitement, the adventure. It's awesome. It's absolutely fantastic. Transformers blows my mind. I love it. Now, I did grow up a Transformers fan, but I was never the most hardcore Transformers fan, meaning that I never, just because of my fandom or nostalgia for Transformers, it never meant that I was going to be all up in the comic books, right? But what Daniel Warren Johnson and company have been doing in the pages of Transformer has been so transformative for the comic book industry, for comic books as a whole. This is a whole level of excitement. I'm telling you this. Even if you haven't ever read Transformers before, know nothing about it, if you get a chance, pick up the trade, jump into Arc 2. It's just freaking awesome. It's just awesome. It's the pick of the week. So there you go. All right, then we've got Plastic Death and Dolls, issue number 1, the follow-up to Plastic, from Doug Wagner and Daniel Hilliard. I really like this book. It's gory, it's violent, it's a follow-up of sorts to the original Plastic, which is about a dude who has this obsessive nature about plastic. And in the first book, the big hook was that he is like in love with this like sex doll and stuff, but there's a different level to this story, but it's great. Super gory, super violent, but at the same time, a little tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it's grounded and it doesn't feel like a waste of time. Plastic Death and Dolls, Sword. I really liked that one. Remote Space is a new one from Cliff Rathburn, who we mostly know as an inker and a colorist. This is written, penciled, lettered, everything, colored, everything is done by Cliff Rathburn. He's been working on this for a while, and I really did like it. The artwork is absolutely amazing. Super cool artwork, a great color palette, really great energy to this one as well, and it's a really cool concept, right? So humanity has had some, environmental disasters happen, right? And some of humanity has left the planet, some of humanity has stayed. The humanity that has stayed, the percentage of humans that have stayed, have evolved to now suit the atmosphere and the needs of that planet. And then the ones who go off into space, they start like modifying themselves, like with technology into biology. They're like cyborgs. They're like merging technology and biology. And meanwhile, on Earth, they're like a little bit more like hardened, a little bit more monstrous. So now you got these two different evolutionary threads from the humanity that we know have now come back into contact with one another. The writing is a little bit long-winded. It takes a while to really explain what's going on, then it jumps into the story. But the concept, the art, the design, everything about it really was shockingly cool to me. I was really excited, and I'm definitely coming back for issue number 2. Then we've got Rifters. This is a new one from Brian Posehn, as well as Joe Troman and Chris Johnson on the artwork. It's a pretty solid book. It's pretty decent. So it's about the idea that time travel gets created, it gets invented, and of course it needs to be controlled, regulated in some form or fashion by the government. But what happens when someone shows up who wants to give that power to the corporations so they can now sell time travel devices to everybody? So everybody starts going across the timeline, messing shit up, right? So this is about the police force, basically, that goes through time to stop these time crimes. They're called Rifters. It was a really cool concept, very funny, doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got a humorous tone to it, and it works. So if you like previous work from Brian Posehn and company, definitely check this one out. Interesting sci-fi concept and really cool execution. Very humorous. Then we got Ain't No Grave, issue number 2. It's the new book from Scotty Young and Jorge Corona. So yes, once again, Jorge Corona's got 2 books out this week. Great artwork here, different than the artwork in Transformers, more like the Jorge, I'm talking too fast. More like the Jorge Corona that you know and love, but still with that energy that he's picking up from the Transformers. I like this book. It's about a woman. She's got a wife. She's got a husband. She's got a kid. She finds out that she might be dying, so she leaves her husband and kid behind to go to the land of death, to find death, to kill death. It's a story, it's like a story concept that we have seen before, but it's done in a little bit of a different way. The artwork is the main star of this, and it is violent. It is got a great pace to it, but I love the artwork. I love the story, and I'm getting really into the character, and the coloring is amazing too. Jean-François Beaulieu, absolutely fantastic stuff there. Then we got Geiger, issue number 3. Geiger continues to never disappoint me. I love this book. I love the highly textured and detailed artwork from Gary Frank, along with the beautiful coloring from Brad Anderson. And in this story, Geiger learns a little bit more about his new companion, and his new companion learns a little bit more about Geiger, and thus we, as the audience, learn a little bit more about them as well. Some really cool setups here, some really cool follow-through from some of the setup that has been set up in 1 and 2. Setup, but I really like this book. It's like Jeff Johns is able to bring a little bit more nuance to his character work. Ever since he's done Doomsday Clock, there's a complexity to his work in his writing with the nuance of the characterizations and even the way that he kind of structures his story. So Geiger is absolutely amazing. Also, you got appearance from Junkyard Joe, which was my favorite book ever from Jeff Johns and Gary Frank together. So it was really cool to see him return, and a lot of setup for the whole overarching world of the unnamed. So Geiger is still awesome. The Deviant is here with issue number 6. We are nearing the final act of this story. It's about a serial killer, or somebody who was accused of being a serial killer back in the 70s. May not be true. He may have only been caught because he was gay, right? So in this story, which is now set in the present day, there's a comic book writer who is researching this story, maybe gets a little bit too into it, and maybe now the same person who framed that last guy is framing him. But this is from the perspective of the main character's boyfriend, and we learn more about him, his relationship with his boyfriend, their world, their life, and he finds out some things that we find out, and it leads to a really chilling kind of climax. I'm really excited to see this book near its end game and wrap up in hopefully a tremendous way, because so far it's been absolutely great through the first 6 issues. Then we've got Something Epic, issue number 11 from Szymon Kudranski. Once again, playing with the ideas of imagination, playing with the ideas of the collective unconscious, and that fictional characters actually exist, and if you can change reality with things like words and thoughts. Really cool, interesting ideas. Zeus has been killed, so it's a murder mystery. So there's a detective who is an epic, right? So she can see into this world of imagination, right? She's on the trail of Zeus's killer. She gets closer to that, but each issue she's kind of been focusing in on interrogating another god, possibly from another mythology. She does so here with Thor and also Mother Earth, Mother Nature, and that's really freaking cool. And then you get to the end, they get into some Egyptian stuff, so not just playing with imagination, but playing with mythology and the role that mythology and imagination have together to form reality. Really love this book. It keeps solidifying and getting better. Great concepts, great artwork, by the way. Absolutely stunning artwork from Szymon Kudranski, and the writing is really, really slick. So absolutely cool with that. Napalm Lullaby here with issue number 4. I think I'm done with this book. Like, I tried so hard to get into it. It's another story about people in a theocracy who have to go and kill the god that this theocracy worships in order for freedom. We've seen this story done before, and we've seen it done kind of like this, and it just kind of is a little bit muddy, a little bit unclear, a little bit clunky, and it just doesn't quite work for me. Now you're throwing in superheroes and stuff, and it just doesn't, it's just not working for me, right? Sometimes this happens to me with Rick Remender books, so maybe after it's done or hit a certain point, maybe I'll go back and reread it, grab the trade, something like that, see how it is as a whole, but issue to issue, I'm just not digging it, and I've been digging it less and less as each issue progresses. So for now, I'm kind of out of it. Then we got Monolith, issue number 2 of 3 from the Spawn universe. Written by Sean Lewis with a pretty solid artwork from Valerio Giangiordano. I like the artwork. The story's decent. It's just okay. This Monolith character is not really somebody who really captivates my attention, so I find it hard to get into it. There's nothing wrong inherently with the story. It is the origin of Monolith. And I like how in this one it ties it into when we first see Monolith and, of course, Omega Spawn. So it's starting to make a little bit more sense structurally within the Spawn universe, but it's just not really super appealing to me right now. But there's only one more issue, and I owe it, so I guess I'll definitely check it out. Let's jump over to Marvel. We got a new X-Men book. It's X-Men Heir of Apocalypse. This is not part of the From the Ashes, the new post-Krakoan era. Even though the Krakoan era ended last week with X-Men number 35 officially, this is kind of like the coda, if you will. Apocalypse is trying to figure out who his heir is going to be. Who's going to be the next Apocalypse? So he gets a bunch of different people, puts them in some kind of Egyptian temple, and they're now going to have to go through some trials and tribulations and tests and stuff like that, right? Other words that start with T that mean about the same thing. That being said, you know, I'm way out of the Krakoan era. I love Apocalypse, but this didn't give me the Apocalypse stuff that I really wanted out of it. It was just alright. It was decent. It wasn't terribly bad. But if you're really excited for the post-Krakoan X-Men universe or era, just skip this one. Just skip this one. Just skip that one. Then we got a new Scarlet Witch number 1. That's right. This makes like, what, I don't know, 18 Scarlet Witch number 1s in the last, like, 2 years. It feels like it. It's still Steve Orlando. It's still the same story that's been told through all those different volumes. And I'm just not digging it, right? So here's the thing. I wasn't digging it when it first started, and every time there's a new number 1, I jump into it to see, okay, well, does it work as a new number 1? And not really. It still just picks up. It's the next issue of Scarlet Witch. And here's the thing. Marvel, if you want to keep publishing Scarlet Witch, just publish Scarlet Witch. Just publish Scarlet Witch and see what happens. See what happens. Maybe you will garner a following. Kind of like, case in point, Poison Ivy over at DC. That's a book that's been going solidly for like 20-something issues, and it didn't fully, and I wasn't fully invested at first, but I stuck with it, I kept with it, and it's garnered a following, right? Scarlet Witch could be that for you, but you just keep relaunching it, and every time there's a new number 1, you're gonna sell less comics. I don't know why Marvel doesn't understand that, but that's what happens. Trust me, I see it happening. All right, then we got Ultimate X-Men issue number 4, Peach Momoko. I really like Peach Momoko's art. I know that this is not a popular Ultimate book, because every time I talk on this show about how much I like this book, I get a slew of comments telling me that I'm wrong. And here's the thing. What's the difference, or what's the similarity between a vegan and somebody who doesn't like Peach Momoko? Don't worry, they'll tell you who they are. It seems to be the thing. You don't like this book, that's fine. I personally like it. I like this approach to the X-Men. This is a whole new world. A brave new world, if you will. I like this iteration of who I think is kind of like a Shadow King character. It's got some dark, morbid tones to it. It's like dealing with themes of like suicide and loss and teenage life and things like that. I like the character of Armor in the hands of Peach Momoko. I like the whimsy nature of the artwork, but the dark nature of the story, and when the art needs to go dark, it does. I really like it. It's something way different. It's not X-Men by Jim Lee for certain. It's not the X-Men from the Krakoan era, but it's Peach Momoko doing what she does best, which is like Japanese-centered folk tales involving horror and trauma and things like that, and it works for me. I'm really digging this book, but I do wish it would... I would say, no, I don't even wish it would pick up the pace, because I think the pace is just fine. So there you go. All right, then we got Blood Hunt issue number 3. This, of course, is the red band edition because I need my extra pages of gory, gnarly intestines falling out and stuff like that. This is an all right issue. It's kind of like, it's a 5-issue series. So I was expecting this one to, like, move really quick, but 3 is kind of a slowdown issue where everybody's kind of, like, just kind of looking around and taking notice of where they're at and kind of making plans and stuff like that, including Blade, who's the big bad. No big revelations or anything like that, but it does have a pretty cool ending, and the artwork by Pepe Larraz was awesome. So far, 3 issues in, we're over halfway done with the main story of Blood Hunt, and it's not completely wowing me. It's not really winning me over, but it's decent enough, I guess, so I'm enjoying it a little bit, but it's not the greatest thing out there. We got a Blood Hunt tie-in. We have a lot of Blood Hunt tie-ins this week. I didn't like most of them, so if I don't like it, I'm just not going to read it. So if there's a Blood Hunt tie-in that's out this week that I didn't cover, it's because I didn't like it. All right, here we got Blood Hunt X-Men Jubilee. This is a one-shot. There's going to be a few of these X-Men one-shots in the midst of Blood Hunt. This one focuses on Jubilee, who used to be a vampire. She was saved by this group called the Forgiven, so they make their return here. There's a new person who's been turned into a vampire. Jubilee's trying to help her out. That's pretty much the story. It's alright. It's decent. I'm a big Jubilee fan, but not enough to recommend this book. So if you're like the most hardcore Jubilee fans, where you need every single appearance, maybe. If you're that Blood Hunt person who wants every single Blood Hunt tie-in, go for it. Outside of that, rather skippable. Then we've got Fantastic Four here with issue number 21. That's right, issue number 21 of Fantastic Four is a Blood Hunt tie-in, and this one's alright, it's decent. It's still by Ryan North, right? Yeah, it's still by Ryan North. Ryan North's been doing a decent job. I don't think this run's going to go down in the history books as one of the best and solid, like one of the runs of Fantastic Four, but it has been good, and I think it's been better than what came before with the Dan Slott stuff. This one, Reed and Alicia go off on their own to have their little adventure. So it's the story trick where you take two characters that don't get a lot of time together and you put them together so it spreads out some interesting dynamics and stuff. Though there is this bit in this book where when the vampires show up and Reed's like, well, I'm a man of science, I don't believe in vampires. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you fought vampires. You don't believe in vampires. Reed don't believe, does he believe in zombies? Because he fought zombies too. Like, does he believe in demons? Because he's been to hell. Like, whatever. It's Ryan North. Come on, man. Reed knows there's, like, supernatural stuff out there. He would just explain it in a scientific way, in my opinion. Anyway, so Reed and Alicia go off to do their thing. Johnny, Ben, and Sue are there with the kids. Then the vampire outbreak happens, Blood Hunt. It's about them dealing with that. Some clever usage of Reed's powers a little bit here. It was alright, it was decent, but it's okay. Not as good as some of the more recent issues of Fantastic Four. And there is an Art Adams variant cover right there, which I think is pretty freaking cool. Alright, then we got Spider-Boy issue number 8. I've really been liking this book a lot. This issue, though, probably the weakest one yet. I mean, it wasn't super bad. It's alright. This dude, the Puzzle Man, shows up. So they got this nice little, like, technique in here where he's, like, breaking the fourth wall and talking to us and putting in these, like, typical, like, puzzles you would get in, like, an activity book or something like that. And I don't know, I guess it's charming to a point. Like, you gotta follow the past of Spider-Boy through the maze or something like that. It's alright. It's a little heavy-handed on some of the emotional beats it was trying to do, and it didn't quite have the sense of fun that the previous 7 issues of this series has had, so it was a little bit of a step down, but it was still alright. I just realized I left a book in the other room, so before we get to DC, break, let me go get another one. And that book is Gods issue number 8. This is the final issue of Jonathan Hickman's Gods. And now, our friends at Marvel actually sent us a copy of this well in advance, so I'm glad they did, because it gave me a chance to reread 1 through 7 and then read the final issue, and then even another chance to read the final issue a second time. On Gods, I've been kind of on the fence with it. I really like some of the concepts, I dig on some of the characters, but I felt like it was a little disconnected and didn't quite live up to the scope that we were sold. Having reread 1 through 7 and then immediately 8, I read it in one sitting, right? having done that, I get that this scale and scope of this book isn't the cosmic stuff. It's actually the love story. It's actually the more personal moments. And I actually applaud it for that. So kudos to you, Marvel, for sending me this stuff early, because I was able to actually digest it and focus on it a little bit more. And I'm glad I did, because this book is about those nuanced relationships in the midst of these people that have to make these life and death decisions for the cosmos, right? So some people may feel like the ending is a bit abrupt and not quite fulfilling. I would disagree. I think, especially the second time I read it, I thought that it was structured very well, and it gave us more about the character of Wen, and I'm more intrigued by it. And it does have an open ending, and I do believe that this book might be coming back, and I hope it's Hickman again. If Hickman's writing these characters, if Hickman is crafting this world, I'm going to be down for it. So I'll be doing another video talking about Gods 1 through 8 as a whole soon, in preparation for the trade paperback coming out. So Marvel, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Gods number 8, I thought it was pretty solid, and it helped recontextualize what the series was and what it meant to me. So I liked it. Let's jump over to DC. We got a new one, Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age, issue number 1, heralding the official return of Elseworlds. That's right, Elseworlds is officially back. Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, Mike Mignola, P. Craig Russell, Brian Augustin, they crafted Batman in the Victorian Age, Jack the Ripper coming to Gotham, right? Batman versus Jack the Ripper in Gotham in the late 1800s. That's what's going on in the original. This is a follow-up, a sequel to it, and it's focused mostly on Catwoman. And of course, it's going to have some ties into Superman by the name. So it's introducing Superman into this world, Catwoman into this world. Of course, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the original, they did an animated movie on that. I know a lot of people have seen that. I haven't. I've only read the original book, which actually is out in a facsimile today, including a foil cover. Look at that, and it's only $6.99? That's freaking awesome. Marvel, can you do this? Can you do a foil cover that thick prestige format for $6.99? If so, I would appreciate it as a fan, as a reader, as a reviewer, and as a retailer. So, Gotham by Gaslight, if you missed it the first time, if you never got a chance to read it, it's a facsimile edition out this week. But the sequel, dude, I really liked it. I was not expecting much out of this book. It's not like the Mike Mignola, P. Craig Russell artwork, but it kind of captures some of the same tone. I really did like this, but there's a Kryptonian ring, Catwoman's trying to steal it, Batman shows up. That's pretty much the issue, but I really enjoyed it. It had a nice pace to it. It's written by Andy Diggle with Leandro Fernandez on the artwork. You got a little bit of Superman in there, possibly, something like that. We'll see. They don't get fully into it, but this miniseries is off to a great start. Then we got Batman and Robin, issue number 10. This brings an end to the first giant story by Joshua Williamson, and I like the story. Man-Bat finding new personalities, going more ultra evil, having this grandiose plan. The mystery of Shush and all that stuff has been revealed, and this is just a nice wrap-up to that story and a setup for what's to come. The only problem with this book was the artwork was incredibly inconsistent. So Simone DeMille, she does her stuff, they do their stuff. I don't know who that is. Boy, girl, in between, I don't know. So they do an amazing job on the pages. But then the other pages are the dude who did that Azrael book with Dan Waters, and it's just a very jarring transition that doesn't work for me. So the art changes in the last few issues really kind of pulled me out of this story a little bit, and I feel like it kind of undercut the impact of the final bits of this story. But I did like the story. I like Josh's approach to Man-Bat. I thought it was interesting and something different and new, so I thought that was cool. Outsiders is here with issue number 8. The last few issues of this have been really cool because they're really leaning heavy into the very much direct connection to Planetary by John Cassaday and Warren Ellis. This one, though, it was just all right. It's got Ginny Hex in it. It's kind of playing with that ghost town issue of Planetary. It's kind of playing around with that. It's trying to do its own thing, but it's not doing it as well. It's okay. It's kind of like a wasted issue in a way, but a necessary issue. So I'm not over the series yet, but I'm excited for it to get back to what I was really digging about this book over the last few issues. Then we've got Green Lantern, issue number 12. Jeremy Adams got a great run on Green Lantern right now. So United Planets, they are corrupt led by a corrupt dude. Hal's back. He gets a team of lanterns to go and confront the council. It backfires. They get captured. But then Interstar Sapphire. Really strong issue. Great artwork by Harmonico. Great moments. Really cool. Just great superhero action. If you liked Green Lantern during the Jeff Johns day and over the years you just kind of fell out of it, you might want to come back for the Jeremy Adams stuff, because I won't say it's as good as the Jeff Johns stuff because only time will tell that, but it's keeping my attention and I'm getting very excited each time there's a new issue of Green Lantern. All right, from Fantagraphics, Hate Revisited is here from Peter Bagg. So freaking excited for this book, and it did not disappoint. Hate was a book back in the 90s by Peter Bagg. It's kind of like the quintessential Gen X underground alternative comics, right? It's about this dude and his friends, his girlfriends, just living like the slacker life, right? So Hate Revisited is Peter Bagg revisiting these characters today, right? So they're grown up, they're married, some of them got kids maybe, they got problems, they're adults now, right? So, but their adult selves are informed, of course, and molded by who they were in their younger years. And if you've never read the original Hate, I would highly encourage you to. I think this book will have more of an impact if you do. However, even if you haven't done that, one cool thing about this is there are flashback stories in here that are set in the past. They're revealing moments of these characters and, like, for instance, the way certain characters meet that we never got in the original series. The artwork, though, it's not quite as precise as it was back in the day, but of course it's cartoony, it's bendy, it's Peter Bagg doing what Peter Bagg does. But one of the things I love about the art here is that the flashbacks set back in the early 90s, they're all black and white and cross-hatched, right? And then the stuff that's set in the modern day is in color and no cross-hatching. So really cool dichotomy there with the styles. If you like irreverent, silly, fun comics, alternative, independent stuff, I would highly recommend this book. I love Hate. Every page is utilized. It's Fantagraphics. It's on great paper quality. And guess what? The smell of the week goes to Hate Revisited. I highly encourage you to check out Hate. There's like a 3-volume hardcover set of the complete Hate, and then there's like smaller trade paperbacks that you can find that kind of put it all together, though I don't know if it's necessarily in a certain order because I got that hardcover set. But Hate is a great book. Hate Revisited is a nice return to that world of Hate. All right, then we got Godzilla Skate or Die, issue number 1. This is the variant cover by Junie Baugh. That's going to get my cover of the week. Freaking riding a skateboard down Godzilla's tail. Now, right now, I'm Godzilla crazy. I just watched Godzilla -1. Freaking fantastic. One of the best movies of last year. That led me to watch Shin Godzilla. We had a big trivia quiz of kaiju trivia over at Blood Splatter Chatter. Should be up on his channel soon. Or you can check our Godzilla stream, which includes that. I'm Godzilla crazy right now, right? So I was really excited for this book. Disappointed that it's not a crossover with the NES game Skate or Die. I love that game. Really, really do. I wasn't really thinking that it was a crossover with that, but in a way, it kind of is, because it's about this bunch of skateboarding kids who their favorite place to skateboard or something like that is under attack, and Godzilla's in the midst of it, so they want to go and like help out or something. Very little Godzilla, more about the skate kids. It was all right. I did like the art. It's written and illustrated by Louis Joyce. I liked like the energy of the artwork. I really liked the coloring too. I liked like that it has this like angular, like kind of gritty and textured approach to it. The Godzilla bits look freaking awesome, but it didn't really do enough to get me super excited. I wanted more Godzilla action, but that seems to be what I think about everything involving Godzilla. I want more Godzilla, unless it's the original Gojira or Godzilla -1. Everything else though, more Godzilla, please. But cool art, great cover, cool enough concept. Skate or Die, by the way. I used to rent that all the time, and when I would rent it, it wouldn't come with the instruction manual. I never knew how to play many of the mini games in that game, and I still don't today. We have the internet now. I need to change that. All right, let's run on through then. TMNT Usagi Yojimbo Saturday Morning Adventures. This is a one-shot comic set in the cartoon animated world of the 80s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and of course Usagi Yojimbo. He appeared in that cartoon. They made a toy. I loved it. That's where I first got introduced to Usagi Yojimbo, so this was a really cool treat. Donatello finds a way for Usagi to go back to his world because he's from another reality. He goes, hey, instead of me just going through this portal alone, why don't y'all come and hang out with me? So they do, and they have a nice little adventure. It's cheesy, it's fun, it's silly, and it's awesome. So if you like that old school Turtles cartoon and you love Usagi's part of it, check this one out. Really cool stuff. Then we got Lawful, issue number 1, a new one from Boom Studios, with Greg Pak on the writing, Diego Galindo on the artwork. This one was all right. It's an interesting concept. This is a world in which, in order to regulate citizens to follow the rules, every time you break a rule, you start slowly turning into a monstrous creature. And if you start breaking too many rules and start going full monster, they will throw you over the wall. So this focuses on a kid who is so deathly scared of doing something wrong and becoming a monster and disappointing his family. So it's about that. It's an interesting world. And then the setup and how it ends, it was decent enough. Didn't completely wow me and woo me and wine and dine me and take me to dinner and then, back home to the shack, if you know what I'm saying. But Lawful was decent. It was all right. It was interesting. If you got a few extra bucks and you want to check out a new concept, check that one out. But I would recommend Remote Space over that one. Then from Dark Horse Comics, we have Into the Unbeing, Part 1 by Zach Thompson and Hayden Sherman. Huge fan of Hayden Sherman's work. They do not disappoint. They are coloring it themselves. Hayden always brings a different style, a different approach, and it always works. Artistically, this book is top-notch. Story-wise, it's all right. It's about this world that's been wrecked by environmental damage. We've seen this so many times before. We also see it so many times from Zach Thompson that it's almost getting a little snorry, to be honest with you. But an interesting enough concept here with it. But it's about these, I guess, geologists or whatever, or botanists. There's like a team of scientists and stuff, and they're all of a sudden this mysterious landmass appears. And as they discover this landmass, if you pay attention to the art, you're like, oh man, this could be pretty gnarly. So it didn't completely win me over story-wise or character-wise in the first issue, but the art was so strong, and the core concept by the end of it was so intriguing that I'll definitely come back for a second issue. And then we've got Monsters Are My Business, issue number 3. Cullen Bunn, Patrick Piazzalunga, I guess. All right, Monsters Are My Business. This is just a fun book. If you're a fan of things like The Goon, you're going to love this book. It's about this dude who's like a monster hunter. There are all these monsters after him. He's got like a checkered past with them. He's got crazy sidekicks. It just works. It's silly. It's dumb. It's fun. It's not taking itself very seriously, but it's got a great flow to it. It's got a great energy. It's got a nice humorous tone to it, but also great for horror fans. So pretty solid there. Heart Piercer, issue number 2. This is Rich Duick and Gavin Smith. Gavin Smith's artwork is really solid here. Great figure work. Really solid use of the composition and just the line work and everything. It's a fantasy tale. This like fantasy evil dude or whatever, his right-hand woman, after he's like conquered everything, he turns on her, kills her. Now she's trying to team up with the rebels, if you will, but they're not going to trust her or anybody else who does. So that's what we're dealing with here, but a pretty solid second issue to continue the intrigue that was set by the first issue, so I thought that was pretty decent. Usagi Yojimbo the Crow, issue number 3. Stan Sakai, doing what Stan Sakai's been doing for 40 years, which is Usagi Yojimbo. Great storytelling, great artwork, great characterizations, just great, solid samurai tales. If you're a Kurosawa fan, if you like samurai movies, if you like good, solid artwork, you gotta read this book. And you can just jump in here and just follow along. And then pick up the box set from Fantagraphics, pick up the Saga collections from Dark Horse, pick up the IDW collections. Just the world of Usagi is so rich, and it's been so consistent for so long. You gotta read this book. You gotta read this book. Alright, from Mad Cave Studios, we got Dick Tracy, issue number 2. Way more violent and grounded and brutal than I thought it would be, but why not? This book is awesome. I'm really digging it. I thought the first issue was a good setup. Second issue was fantastic. Geraldo Borges on the artwork, decent enough. Alex Segura and Michael Marisi on the storytelling, really bringing it home. Dealing with the effects of war on Dick Tracy and other people, this gang war that's brewing up, really interesting stuff. I loved the Dick Tracy movie when I was a kid. I loved those Playmates action figures. I've never really gotten to read the Chester Gold stuff. I want to. They got some nice hardcovers out. They're like $60 each. I wish I could have that whole collection. Maybe one day I will. but I really want to dive into that. But this is scratching that itch right now. This is violent. It's very grounded in a reality, but still Dick Tracy. Like, flat top still got a flat top, you know? Lips still got lips, you know? Prune face still got a face like a prune. Mumbles still mumbles. But don't take characters for granted in this book because, like I said, it's grounded in a reality of crime fiction, but with that Dick Tracy flair. I'm really digging it. Then we got Morning Star issue number 3. This is a book that's very mysterious, but the mystery is very intriguing. And each issue is very breezy, a very quick read, but I love the artwork in it. Let me find a really solid page here. Because the artwork is really solid and there's some really great pages to it, but you still don't quite wrap your head around what's going on. It's about a family who lost their father fighting fires in the forest or something like that. The kid goes away. There's maybe a UFO connection. I am intrigued by this book. It's a very breezy, light read, but I do think that when it's all said and done, it's going to make a really cool, complete mystery, and I just hope they pay it off, but I have trust that they will. Then we got Okugun, Brutalizer of the Gods, issue number 2. I thought issue number 1 was alright, some solid artwork. Story, though, felt a little bit unclear. Same thing with issue number 2. Just didn't quite iron itself out for me. I was reading it. There are parts of it I enjoy. Just slight parts I don't really like. So not enough really to turn me off of the book. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how many issues this is going to run. But depending on the size of the week, of the stack of the week that the 3rd issue comes out, we'll see what happens. It's kind of on the fence for me right there. Then we've got Thundercats, issue number 5. From Dynamite Comics. I've been enjoying this Thundercats book. Unfortunately, no Rob Liefeld cover this time. That stinks. This Declan Shalvey cover, though, is pretty sweet. So that's awesome. The story, though, it's alright. It's not Declan Shalvey. It's not Drew Moss. It's Stephen Mooney. And Stephen Mooney's doing the art, too. And it's alright. It's basically Shitara coming up to give Lion-O a pep talk. And the way she does that is to, like, slap his ass around for a while and kind of shake some sense into him. So it's an interlude that isn't meaningless, and I do appreciate that because usually when you have a fill-in, like a fill-in issue, right? It's something else, and I was afraid that's what this would be. No, it is definitely plugged in to the main thread of the Thundercats story, and it actually gets Lion-O to a point where I think Declan, when he comes back, can just kind of run with it, and I'm excited enough for it. So it was all right, but it was the weakest issue so far. Also, from Fantagraphics, we got the complete Web of Horror here. Beautiful, well put together hardcover of the complete Web of Horror magazine. It's a horror magazine. They only did 3 issues. That's all of it right there. You're going to have writing from Terry Bisson, Nicola Cuddy, Marv Wolfman, Lynn Wein, Jerry Conway. You're going to have art from Jeff Jones, Bernie Wrightson, Frank Bruner, Michael Kaluta. Really solid stuff in here. This is the kind of stuff I really like. So if you're fans of eerie, creepy, Tales from the Crypt, the EC stuff, check it out. It's worth it. It's $50, but man, it is a beautiful package. And nobody makes books like Fantagraphics. Well, Abrams, Pantheon, Drawn and Quarterly. Okay, Fantagraphics makes books as well as some other ones, but better than some of our major publishers. So Web of Horror is here. I'm excited to dive into that. So to recap, Thundercats, a fill-in issue that still has meaning. It was all right. Okugun, Brutalizer of the Gods. I'm on the fence with that one. Morning Star, it's a breezy, quick read, and I think because they haven't gotten so far into the mystery, that maybe hinders enjoyment a little bit, but I have trust in Andrea and Daniel on this book. I like the artwork too. Dick Tracy, brutal, grounded, but still very much Dick Tracy. Usagi Yojimbo, read this book. Why are you not reading Usagi Yojimbo? Heart Piercer, really solid continuation from the first issue. Monsters Are My Business, big dumb fun in the vein of The Goon. Then we got Into the Unbeing, amazing artwork, a decent enough story, but really cool towards the end. Lawful, interesting concept, okay art. We'll see what happens. It's definitely decent enough to warrant a revisit. TMNT, Usagi Yojimbo, Saturday Morning Adventures, one shot. You know if this book is for you. If you know if this book is for you or not. Godzilla, Skate or Die, gets the cover of the week. Story was all right. A little bit more Godzilla. Could have done some well, though. Hate revisited. It was so great revisiting Hate by Peter Bagg. This is awesome. And that beautiful smell of the week. Green Lantern. This is a super solid run that keeps getting better. Outsiders, a little bit of a weak issue. Let's see if we can tie it back together. Batman and Robin, a really great conclusion to this Man-Bat story, but the art was a little bit inconsistent, kind of hindered it. Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age. Elseworlds is back in grand fashion. I had a lot of fun with this book. If you missed the original Gotham by Gaslight, pick you up the facsimile edition right there. All right, Gods number 8. I really did like this conclusion, though, be warned, I did reread 1 through 7 and then read 8 2 times. So there you go. Spider-Boy, weakest issue of that series yet. A little bit of a disappointment. Fantastic Four. Art Adams cover is great. Story's okay. It's decent. It's a Blood Hunt tie-in. X-Men Jubilee Blood Hunt. I can't recommend it, though. It's okay, though. Blood Hunt number 3. A little bit of a slow-down issue. Everybody kind of putting the plans in place, stuff like that. But we'll see what happens in the next 2. If we hit it and hit it hard, maybe they can save the story. But so far, it's a mediocre event. Ultimate X-Men number 4. I'm really liking the slow burn, different approach to the X-Men. Scarlet Witch, stop doing number 1s for books like this. Let it breathe. Let it garner fandom. And if it's not working, just let it go. X-Men Heir of Apocalypse, definitely not for me. Monolith isn't for me, but it's only 3 issues, so I'll come back for the next one. Napalm Lullaby, put me to sleep. I'm out of it. Something Epic. Truly is something epic. I love this book. I think it's super strong. The Deviant, I'm enjoying this one. Building up into the final act of a great mystery right here. Geiger, Junkyard Joe's back. Do you need to know anything else? All right, then we got Ain't No Grave, Scotty Young, Jorge Corona, working their magic again. 2 issues in, it's not hitting quite like the Me You Love in the Dark, which was phenomenal, but still solid and solid enough. Rifters, some great light, humorous approach to time travel crime. Remote Space, amazing artwork, a great cover, wraparound cover, great beautiful color palette, great designs for the characters, the composition on the page, really loved it. Plastic, Death and Dolls, the return of Doug Wagner and Daniel Hilliard to Plastic. And I'm all here for it. And then Transformers number 9, pick of the week because it still rocks my socks right off. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. We have hit 20,000 subscribers. So station and kudos to you. We did it. Thank you so much, PCP Army. We'll be announcing the giveaway on Rockin' Robbie Live Sunday night. So do not miss Rockin' Robbie Live Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll be talking about the 20K giveaway, what you can expect, how to enter, how to win. Let's do it. Anyway, thank you all so much for checking out the channel and all the support, all the love. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, boom!